What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we are taking a look at the New Jersey Devils, as the Devils have been officially eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs here in 2024. I think this has been a grim reality for most Devils fans, really for the past week or so, probably longer than that, honestly. But it's official now for the Devils. Jack Hughes earlier this week announced that he would be missing the last couple games of the season with shoulder surgery. We'll be discussing all of that and hopefully the future for the Devils in today's video. So let's just get right into it, because I think that it's a pretty straightforward situation with the Devils. Obviously, injuries hurt this team badly. This is one of those teams that they lost Dougie Hamilton for a significant amount of this season. At certain points, they were without both Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier. You go down the list. And even, I think, Timo Meier was hurt during this season as well, right? Like, this team has been banged up all year. And then you consider the fact that the goaltending has been an issue most of the season, really up until Jake Allen showed up. And even that, has had mitigating results now that Jake Allen's been there for a minute or two. So it's one of those things where the Devils just don't have the team this year. And, with everything they did last year, which was great, it was everything they did last season, beating the Rangers in the first round of the playoffs and everything else, was great. But now we come back down to reality of the Devils that weren't able to get it done this year. They fired their head coach, Lindy Ruff. Travis Green comes in, and probably sooner than I expected, but eventually we had the idea that he could be the next head coach there. And that's kind of where things have been at for the Devils. And when you look at their record this season, it's pretty telling with how things have gone in Newark this year. 37-5, 79 points, 7th in the Metropolitan Division. They have 2 games here where they're in the middle of a back-to-back with the Toronto Maple Leafs, which you guys are probably seeing that game tonight. So the key stat to look at, they seem to be scoring goals. That's not the issue here for the Devils. It's the goals against. 29th in the National Hockey League. That is 3rd worst in the league. 4th worst in the league. And you can't win hockey games when you give up 273 goals in an 82-game season. It's not going to lead to much success. And the Devils are doing good with goal scoring. That was an issue for a long time for this team. Now it's the defense and the goaltending. They need to figure that out. And that's really what this season comes down to for the Devils. And, it's one of those things, too. You look at their power play right there. Pretty glaring. That's a good power play. It's above league average. Their penalty kill, above league average. So special teams is pretty good for New Jersey. Goal scoring, it doesn't look like they're going to have a 30-goal scorer this season, which might be part of the issue. You would have and I'm sure fans will say, well, you look at Hischier, Toffoli, and Hughes, they were all on pace to have a 30-goal season if they had played the full 82-game schedule. And that's a very fair point. And you could even argue Timo Meier would be there too. But nobody's going to hit 30 goals this season for the Devils. And that's part of the reason that they aren't going to the playoffs. Looking at points, a good season for Jesper Bratt. One of the few guys that has played every game this year for the Devils so far. And that's kind of the crux of this situation, right? Hughes has only played 62 games when it's all said and done. Hischier missed a dozen games. Timo Meier, same thing. If those guys played a full season, who knows what we'd be talking about for the Devils, because they did keep it till the final week of the season. They just weren't able to get it done and pull all the way through. Now, of course, the other thing that we have to discuss today is the goaltending, because the goaltending has been an issue for the Devils this year. And, it's all said and done. You look at how many goalies they've used. They've used 5 goalies this season. Vitek Vanacek playing the most games. He only had an .890 save percentage, more than 3 goals against per game. That's not good. And things didn't get better with Nico Dawes, who also played 21 games, sub 900. Akira Schmid, sub 900. And the only 2 goalies that are above a 900 save percentage are the ones that came in at the deadline to try and kind of just give any last bit of hope to this team. And, in to give respect, Capo Kakinen and Jake Allen, they were both in terrible situations with the teams they were with prior. So it's one of those things right now for the Devils where they had such a great season last year, but we have to remember that this is still a very young hockey team. And despite all the success that they had last season, what makes the NHL so difficult is not doing it once, not making the playoffs once. It's doing it every single season. The grind, year after year after year. That's what separates teams like Tampa Bay and Colorado from some of these other teams around the National Hockey League that even when they do make the playoffs, they end up falling out. And that's why the runs we saw from Chicago in the mid-2010s and most recently Tampa, seeing those runs is such a big thing because it is so difficult to do. And the Devils are realizing right now how difficult it is just to make the playoffs, especially in the Metropolitan Division where there's still a lot of parity. You still have a lot of teams that have a couple teams like the Penguins and Capitals who you kind of thought, well, this might be it. The window's closing last year. And then now here they are. They're sticking around one more year and potentially another year next year, depending on what happens with Crosby and Ovechkin in their division. So that's kind of the thing with the Devils here, and the Islanders are still hanging on. The Rangers and Hurricanes continue to dominate this division, and at some point down the line we're going to see the Flyers and Blue Jackets really be relevant in this division. So the Devils don't catch a break here. There's no easy way out, and I think right now you just have to find a way to get solid goaltending, because if you can get goaltending that can steal you a couple wins, that could be the difference. And they found decent goaltending down the stretch to keep them in the race for probably longer than they should have been here. That win against the Islanders a couple weeks ago, I went to that game. The Devils are a fast, skating, skilled team. And they can score goals in opportunistic, when they get opportunities, they score. They are opportunistic. It's more so just getting it all rounded out together. And I think that they will do that. I think next year the Devils are back in the playoffs, and we kind of forget this season because, like I said, this is a good teaching moment for the younger players there. The Hugheses, the Myers, all those guys. This is a good lesson for them. And this is going to be a lesson that they're going to remember when they're going on those deep playoff runs. You got to respect the grind. Don't expect to make the playoffs every season. And I think they might have maybe taken it for granted this year. Now, I will say it's not going to get easier for the Devils, right? Because in the event that everything goes well, they get another goaltender this offseason. They get a good, tough guy, right, to deal with teams like, teams in their division like the Flyers, the Rangers, the Islanders, obviously Washington with Wilson. You need tough guys. And I think the Devils are a little too soft. I think they have a lot of European players, and that's fine. You need that little bit of toughness, though, especially in this division, in particular. And, when you have guys like Matt Martin, well, he might not be there next season, but Matt Rempe, Tom Wilson's, you need to have an answer to those guys. And I love Brendan Smith as much as the next guy, but that is not the guy. The Devils need a guy that can legitimately do that. Kevin Ball kind of did that last year, and that helped. But they haven't had that this year. And Timo Meier, you want him to score goals, and you're not really wanting him to be the guy dropping the gloves all the time. So, like I said, it's been a good year for the Devils in terms of the development of some of their younger players. It just hasn't happened the way I think Devils fans would have liked. And the expectation was set last year to make the playoffs. You should get back this year and even further, right? And that's just not realistic. Maybe they did overachieve last season, but that's okay. And the one thing I will say for next season, and I was kind of leading into this, is they've had a good season in terms of that. And next year, let's say they get the big tough guy, right? The guy that's going to be in front of the net and be willing to fight Rempe and these other guys, right? You get that guy. You get a good goaltender. Well, you're still going to be potentially, even if Jack Hughes is back for opening night, you're not going to see the Jack Hughes we saw at the beginning of this season. This is what we're talking about in terms of you need to be prepared to start the season on time. This is going to be a problem for the Devils, I think, next year. And I could see them being a team that's kind of trailing from behind to start in the beginning of the year because Hughes isn't listen, Jack Hughes is very talented, but he's not a robot. He's going to have surgery this summer. It's going to set back his training. It's going to set him back maybe a little bit mentally and physically. And I don't care what he's going to say to the media that he's feeling okay and this and that. he's going to come out of the gate slow probably next season. I think most of us can expect that. And he's still going to have a good season, I think. But he being a little bit slow to the party to start could be the difference whether the Devils are where we're talking about right now or making the playoffs or potentially even winning the division, right? So, like I said, at the end of the day, the Devils are okay. I'm not that concerned about them. I'm more concerned about teams in their division like the Flyers or the Blue Jackets. The Devils aren't a team I'm concerned about. If they get a goaltender, they're able to add another gritty forward, and they get a healthy Jack Hughes for next season, they're going to be just fine. But like I said, that's what we said for this season. We expected them to make the playoffs, and they didn't. When you play in the Metro, nothing is guaranteed. And when you play in the NHL, you flip the coin on opening night. There's a 50-50 shot. 16 teams make the playoffs. 16 teams don't now. And that's the reality. So guys, that's it for today's video. If you like this kind of content, want to see more videos like this, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.